Giving birth to a baby is very much like running a marathon. If your muscles are weak, if they're not warmed up, and if your body is just not flexible enough, running a marathon is going to be difficult and probably painful, right? And the same applies to labor and birth. But the good news is there are exercises which can help you prepare for labor and birth to make both a little easier and less painful.
Yes. So in this video, we are going to teach you 5 super effective exercises which have helped so many women at my clinic with an easier labor and birth. That's because what these exercises do, they bring more flexibility into your body, particularly your thighs, your hips, your pelvis, and even into your perineum.
Right.
Plus, they also help to stretch and strengthen the very muscles which are involved in childbirth, which is going to make delivery so much easier.
Yes, this is Nathalie, a pregnancy and birth consultant and TCM therapist.
And that's Mathias, a researcher in science geek.
And we love helping mummies and their babies naturally and science-based. So slip into your gym outfit and then let's get started. Okay, so first of all, you can do the exercises that we are about to show you throughout your pregnancy. In fact, the more often you do them during your pregnancy, the easier labor and birth is going to be, simply because you have trained your body for that specific event, right? However, as always, you have to get the approval of your healthcare provider first, because not every pregnant woman is allowed to do these exercises. It really depends on your particular pregnancy case.
Yes. And what we also recommend is that you only do these exercises with the help of a second person.
Right.
And finally, I think it goes without saying that if you feel dizzy or you feel numb or if you just don't feel well in general, stop the exercise immediately and talk to your doctor.
Yeah.
Okay, with that said, let us now show you how to do the exercises.
Yes. So the first exercise is called pelvic tilt. Some people also call it cat-cow pose because that's the term they use for it in yoga. Now, pelvic tilt is really a great exercise to prepare for labor and birth because it brings so much more flexibility into your body. In particular, your pelvis, your thighs, and also your hips.
Right.
But it also helps strengthen your pelvic and abdominal muscles. And that is just going to make the pushing phase so much easier. Plus, it can even take away some of the back pain that you may experience throughout your pregnancy and also during labor.
Right. So for this exercise, you need to kneel on the floor with your knees hip distance apart. Also make sure that your knees are directly underneath your hips. Your hands are about shoulder distance apart and they are supposed to be directly underneath your shoulders. Once you are in that position, inhale and lower your belly. And while you do that, elevate both your head and shoulders. This is the cow's pose. Hold the position for a second and then exhale while you elevate your back and lower your head and shoulders. This is the cat pose. And then while you breathe in, go back into the cow pose by elevating your head and shoulders and by lowering your belly. Repeat both poses 6 to 10 times in a row.
Alright, the next exercise is called frog stretch, which is a pose from yoga too. And similar to the last exercise, the frog stretch will help you get so much more flexibility into your body, particularly where it is most relevant during labor and birth, like your pelvis and inner thighs. But it also helps strengthen the lower back while opening your pelvis. And really, it's one of the best exercises to improve hip mobility, which is going to be extremely helpful during the whole labor and birth process.
Yes. So what you want to do is, first of all, remain in the same kneeling position like in the previous exercise. And please make sure that your knees are on a yoga mat or something similar so that you don't feel any pain in your knees. Also, allow your feet to touch so that they really look like frog legs. And then open up your hips while you slowly move your knees downwards until both the inside of your knees as well as the inside of your shins are flat on the mat. You should now be feeling that nice stretch in your thighs. If not, you can increase the stretch by slowly moving your hips backwards. Just keep in mind that this is not supposed to be painful, okay? Hold the position for about 15 to 20 seconds and then simply move your hips forward to get out of the pose.
Okay, the next exercise is called the butterfly stretch. And this is yet another simple but super effective exercise to prepare your body for labor and birth, because not only does it bring more flexibility into your inner thighs, your hips and also your groins, it also opens up your hips and pelvis, and it improves the flexibility of both muscles and joints in those areas.
Right.
And all of that is going to be super helpful during labor and delivery, particularly when you are in the pushing phase.
Yes. So what you want to do is sit on a pillow with your back against the wall. Keep your back straight. And then bend your knees and put your soles together. You can also clasp your hands around your feet to prevent them from separating. And then as you exhale, let your knees and thighs move downwards as far as they will comfortably go. What you can also try is increase the flexibility in your body by gently pushing your knees downwards with your hands. But it is really important to do this very gently. Don't force these stretches. And then just keep the position for about 15 to 20 seconds while you continue to breathe normally.
Right. The next exercise are squats. And squats are just another great way, if not the most important way to prepare for labor and birth for several reasons. Like the previous exercises, squats are supposed to bring more flexibility into your hips and thighs, but they can also stretch your pelvic floor muscles and perineum, which can help reduce tearing.
Yes. So for squats, your feet need to be a little bit wider than shoulder distance apart. Also rotate your feet outward and make sure that your knees point into the same direction. Next, support your hips with your hands and then go into the squatting position very, very carefully while keeping your back straight, i.e. not round. You can also hold on to a chair while you go into the squatting position. Once you are in the squatting position, the weight is supposed to be on your heels and your knees are supposed to be behind or in line with your toes. The angle of your knees is at least 90 degrees. Hold the position for a couple of seconds and then return to the starting position. Try to do 10 to 15 repetitions.
Okay, and then the fifth exercise is called wall sitting. Now, wall sitting is very similar to squatting, however, there is going to be more tension in your abdomen, which helps strengthen the muscles in your abdomen.
Yeah.
This exercise is just another great way to prepare for delivery, because it basically uses the exact same muscles that you also use when you push out your baby, no matter in which position you give birth to your baby.
Yes. So what you want to do is lean your back against the wall and then you basically sit down as if you would sit down in a chair. However, make sure that you don't slip and fall when you do the exercise. What's important here is that when you are in the lower position, you keep a 90 degrees angle in your hips and a 90 degrees angle in your knees. Moreover, make sure that you really press your back against the wall so that you feel your entire back against the wall the entire time. And then, ideally, you try to remain in that position for at least 10 seconds or even longer if you can.
Yes, keep in mind that the important part of this exercise is the part when you are in the squatting position, i.e. when you are holding tension.
Right.
Therefore, it's not so much about how often you repeat the exercise, but rather how long you can remain in the squatting position. So rather than repeating the exercise, the goal should be to increase the time that you spend in the squatting position every time you do this exercise. Okay, great. And then finally, please keep in mind that you don't need to do these exercises for hours every day. Like, if you can only do them a few times per week, that's great.
Yeah.
That alone can already make a huge difference when you are in labor and in particular during the pushing phase. Just make sure to get the approval of your doctor first.
Yes. We really hope that these exercises will make labor and birth easier for you.
Yeah.
And if you have found this video helpful, we would be super grateful if you could leave us a like.
Yes, and for more useful tips and tools on pregnancy and baby related topics, make sure to subscribe to our channel and to hit the bell.